Hello, nerds and nerdettes. Welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you guys. Of course, with April coming to an end, us entering into May, we are going to have another video for my top 10 most anticipated releases for the month of May. But before we get into any of that, a quick reminder, as always, if you're looking for any of these books or would like to place pre-orders on any of these books that I go over, use the channel sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. Use the discount code STAYNERDY for $2 off your order, and also to help support the channel. But without further ado, let's jump into the list, starting with, of course, number 10. And at number 10, we have The Good Asian, the 1936 edition. It seems to be just a deluxe edition, a hardcover. We do have a price tag or a cover price of $39.99. It is 304 pages, but I do have two release dates, which is the main reason it's kind of at number 10. I have a release date of June 6th and a release date of May 30th. Not 100% sure which one is the official release date, so if you guys know, definitely let me know down below. So far, from what I know, this is fairly a blind buy or a blind interest for me. I actually have not read this title, but I've heard nothing but good things based off the people I have talked to. It seems to be somewhat of a crime noir style of story based in 1936. There are 4 creators on it. I'm not even going to attempt to really pronounce their names just in fear of horribly butchering them. But it has piqued my interest. A lot of the art panels I've seen, I've enjoyed viewing, and the little bit that I do know about the story, I am interested in. I am a huge fan of mystery crime noir style of stories, but sometimes I feel like they can be a little predictable, but that doesn't stop me obviously from checking them out. So that's kind of the main reason it's at number 10, one being a title that I'm blindly kind of getting interested in, as well as me not even sure if it's going to be released this month. I do have a date for this month, but I also have a date for the next month, so I'm not too sure. Either way, it will be the beginning of June or the end of May, but I am going to feature it on my list for the month of May. But other than that, not much more to say because I haven't read it yet. We have a lot more exciting or more anticipated releases coming up, but we'll jump to number 9. And at number 9, we do have The Incredible Hulk by Peter David, the Omnibus Volume 5. Long-awaited series. I only currently have volumes 1 and 2, so I have a lot more to collect before I even get to this point, but this is one of my favorite runs on Hulk in general, much like a lot of people's. This is, so far, by a lot of members of the community, being considered a companion, even though it's going to have that Volume 5, mainly because it's going to be including mainly miniseries and one-shots and things that Peter David was featured on, rather than an actual run on the character. It does have a cover price of $100, 904 pages, and of course, it's written by Peter David. I am somewhat of a series completionist, so even though this isn't a lot of required reading pertaining to Hulk collected in this omnibus, it would drive me nuts to get up to Volume 4 and not have that Volume 5. So I am still anticipating to get it in, especially when Peter David is such a pro at writing the character of Hulk. I still would want these miniseries, one-shots, and things like that. So I still am very excited for it. Do I think it's necessarily required reading for a run on the Incredible Hulk completionist or something along those lines? Not necessarily, but if you are a fan of Peter David like I am, then I definitely recommend checking it out, because there's a lot of modern stuff collected in this as well, which I tend to lean more towards modern comics than Silver Age, Bronze Age, whatever it may be. So I am excited to get some modern Peter David Hulk stories. But that does wrap up number 9, so we'll head to number 8. And coming in at number 8 is the Dark Web hardcover. I'm sure I will regret buying this because I'm sure it'll be an omnibus one day. We do have a cover price of $34.99, and we have a page count of 344 pages. That's pretty cool. We do have the writings of Zeb Wells, who is also the writer on the current Spider-Man run, which main reason that is because this is a event in Marvel that happened very recently, actually, that does involve primarily Spider-Man and the X-Men. It's kind of a crossover event between those two books. You do have the characters being deeply involved that are characters from Spider-Man and X-Men. I'm not going to say how, but we do have some involvement of Ben Reilly, as well as the character of Madeline Pryor. So that's the real main reason why Spider-Man's involved and X-Men are involved so deeply. This does take place after the Spider-Man Beyond kind of run on the character, and then going into Zeb Wells' Spider-Man run as well with John Romita Jr. So you do have some required reading, I think, to somewhat understand this, but this is a modern crossover event. I overall did enjoy it. It does involve the character of Venom as well, who I am a fan of. So you have a lot of characters that I'm a fan of. I do believe that this event was fairly hit or miss, but I feel like that's kind of the name of the game for most modern books these days anyway. But I did enjoy it. I do recommend you guys checking it out, but obviously maybe want to read that Spider-Man Beyond, which that is getting an omnibus as well coming up here, and also maybe diving into that Zeb Wells Spider-Man run as well. But I honestly enjoyed it. I think it's a lot of fun, a nice twist. I'm a Ben Reilly fan, so the fact that it features him at all has me interested no matter what. But that does wrap up number 8. And with that being said, we can head to number 7. And at number 7, we do have X-Men 92. We have a release date of May 30th and a page count of 496 pages. It seems to be a fairly decent sized trade paperback, at least based off the information I saw. If I'm wrong, let me know down below. But I do have a cover price of $49.99, which is fairly expensive for a trade paperback. So I'm assuming it might be one of those thicker trades that we sometimes see Marvel put out, especially if it's like an Ultimate collection. But pretty much it's a 90s twist on modern stories, somewhat involving the team from the 90s cartoon or the 90s run on X-Men. So it's kind of funny that this is appearing on my list when I just did a review for the X-Men animated series adaptions omnibus as well. Very similar vibes here. You're going to have very similar art, similar character designs, and characteristics from the X-Men characters, because it's supposed to be those very well-known 90s iterations of the characters of Wolverine, Jubilee, Gambit, kind of those X-Men characters that we've all grown up with and grown to love because of the cartoon. But we do see those characters going through a somewhat played with and twisted version of modern stories. It's almost if the animated series continued and they went through House of M, Powers of 10, and Hoxpox, everything like that. So it's pretty interesting concept to explore. And obviously, I am a 90s apologist pretty much at this point, just because I love amazing art. I love that action-packed storytelling, and this is definitely that. It's a little bit more thought out because they had to twist a lot of those modern stories in a way that would make sense with these characters, but still definitely worth checking out, especially if you like what if style stories or Elseworld stories, because obviously this isn't in the 616 universe, and it's just a bit of fun to kind of get into and start flipping some pages and actually enjoy what you're reading. But I definitely recommend you guys checking that out. It's so much fun. It's a nice story to kind of turn off the brain and become a kid again. But that does wrap up number 7, so we'll jump to number 6. Which number 6 is going to be the Department of Truth hardcover deluxe edition. I think it's being solicited as a book 1, which would make sense because it's an image title. They seem to be doing that. We do have a cover price of $49.99, a release date of May 9th, and a page count of 520 pages. And then obviously this is a hardcover. This is written by James Tynion, who has really blown up in comics in general, especially from his title, Something is Killing the Children. But this is 100% a 180 from that. It's It's a very grounded story, almost grounded in reality completely. A lot of the stories that are being told throughout the book take a lot of elements from real life events, real life situations. I'm not the government or history whiz kid or anything like that, so maybe some of these could have actually happened in real life. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on any of that, but it definitely has that vibe of a story while you read it. It feels 100% like something that would be taking place throughout the government, throughout the world, whatever it may be, and it's pretty dark and gritty, especially pertaining to the art as well. I would say for my art lovers, this is definitely a little bit more dialogue heavy because the art isn't like traditional comic book paneling. It's a lot more abstract, kind of, is I guess the way I would describe it. So for my hardcore art lovers, this may not be something you want to check out, but if you're into like conspiracy theories, crime noir, political dramas, stuff like that, then definitely check this out. Especially if you're a fan of James Tynion, a lot of those kind of espionage vibes that he captured in his Batman run, kind of similar vibe, I guess, in a way. But obviously, completely different story. But definitely check it out. This is going to be a book one, so you're going to get a decent chunk of the story to kind of check out and determine if it's something for you or not. So definitely check that out. I am super excited. I've only read the first trade paperback, and that's really it. So I'm not a leading expert on the title either, but I love hardcovers. I enjoyed this story, and I love James Tynion's writing. So super pumped to check that out. But that does wrap up number 6, so we'll jump to number 5. Which number 5 is going to be Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This seems to be a trade paperback. Correct me if I'm wrong once again. Together, we're going to get the correct information. It seems like you go to one website, it has something, you go to another website, it has something completely different. But this does have a release date of May 23rd, a cover price of $17.99, and a page count of 120 pages. Pretty small book here. Written by B. Earl or B. Earl. He's kind of a more known for his one-shots or his very mini series. Typically, at least that's how I know him. And this is a dark, kind of sinister twist on the character of Spider-Man, very similar to Spider-Man Dark Reign or Spider-Man Shadows, I believe it was. Definitely something up my alley. I really enjoy Elseworld stories, like I've said probably a million times now. And I definitely like one that's a darker twist on a somewhat brighter universe or a brighter character, and that's exactly what this is. It almost injects Spider-Man's story with almost horror vibes in a way, and very similar to Spider-Man Shadow, or Dark Shadow. That the name of that title is escaping me, but really good stuff. I definitely enjoyed my ride with it. I don't think it's necessarily something that's required reading if you're a Spider-Man fan or incorporated it into any runs or anything like that. But for my fans of Spider-Man Dark Reign and that Spider-Man Shadow series, then definitely check this out because almost identical vibes. Very horror-like, very dark, gritty for Spider-Man. But that does wrap up number 5, so we'll head to number 4. And coming in at number 4 is Spider-Man Life Story. I know a lot of you guys probably saw this coming on the list. Such an amazing story. My goodness. We do have a cover price of $29.99, a release date of May 2nd, and we do have a page count of 240 pages. A absolutely beautiful story, a love story to the character of Spider-Man, written by Chip Zdarsky, art by Mark Bagley. Such an amazing team there. Pretty much telling all of the events throughout Spider-Man's history if he actually aged the correct way from his debut. Not sure if that makes sense. So he ages chronologically the way he actually would from his debut. You do have a lot of his supporting cast popping up, a lot of fan favorite supporting cast, not trying to reveal anything there, but you also have, even if it wasn't a cool concept and story like that, you also have the Spider-Man artist, God himself, Mark Bagley, on art, absolutely killing it, per usual. Such a beautiful story, pays homage to Spider-Man's impact in comic books, impact on people in his story. And it's a very, I wouldn't say it's a happy ending, sad ending, or anything, but it has a very impactful ending. It's the best way I'll describe it. Definitely a blast. Really cool concept too, something that isn't really done often. And it, for those of you that are looking for that Chip Zdarsky omnibus, this will be collected in that. So if you want to skip it because you're getting that omnibus, that makes complete sense as well. It will look absolutely beautiful in the oversized format, but such a beautiful story. A lot of people's favorite Spider-Man story ever. You typically hear Spider-Man Blue or Spider-Man Life Story. Those are really the two you hear the most. So check it out if you haven't. There are some hardcovers floating about, but I believe those are out of print. So this is like the new printing of a trade paperback, which is the best thing we can ask for until that omnibus comes out. But it's definitely deserving to being in the top 5 and definitely deserving to be at number 4. But that does wrap up that, so we'll jump to number 3. Which number 3 is none other than the Spider-Man 2099 Omnibus Volume 1, finally coming out. So pumped. We have May 23rd as a release date, a cover price of $125. Pretty standard for Marvel these days. And we do have a page count of 1,384 pages. Decently sized book here, guys. Most of this, if not all of it, written by Peter David. You also have a large chunk of art by Rick Leonardi, who was pretty prominent, a 90s artist. I think he's really known best for probably his work in 2099. But such a cool concept, once again, taking place in the, which used to be at one time, distant future of 2099. Following a new Spider-Man, going to stay away from any spoilers here, especially because this is right around the corner. But man, does it have the 90s edge that a lot of us love. Beautiful art, absolutely beautiful art. New Spider-Man Miguel O'Hara, pretty much exploring his new role of the Spider-Man of 2099, which is absolutely awesome. You also get 2099 iterations of other heroes, villains, very similar to Ultimate Spider-Man in a way, where there's a twist or a turn on a character's story, design, powers, whatever it may be. But absolutely awesome. He's played a fairly big role in a lot of Spider-Man stories. Into the Spider-Verse, he's going to be in number 2. Sorry. Still a little delirious from being sick, by the way. And also in a couple video games, he played a very big role. And then, of course, the recently released Spider-Verse, Spider-Geddon, also appearing in that. So he's been getting a lot of love here lately. And I am super pumped that this is coming out, and it's a volume 1. So fingers crossed on more 2099 titles in general, but also a volume 2 for this character because he's very deserving of it. But that does wrap up number 3, so we'll head to number 2. And coming in at number 2 is going to be Superman Space Age. This is going to be a hardcover as well. $29.99 cover price, page count of 264 pages, and a release date of May 2nd. This is going to be written by Mark Russell, art by Al Red. Awesome. My fans of the Silver Surfer Omnibus by Dan Slott, if you enjoyed that art, check this book out. I think the art by Al Red in this is even better than that, in my opinion. I don't know what it is. I am a huge Superman fan, and this is very much pushing him into almost like a sci-fi style of element. Very Silver Age feeling as far as the story, concept, setting, everything like that. Very beautiful story. You can tell, very similar to the Dan Slott, that the story and the art are working very well in conjunction to each other throughout this entire book. And honestly, I think even if you're not a Superman fan, you can probably dive into this and get a decent amount of enjoyment out of it, because it's not your typical kind of Superman story. It's very much out of the character's element that he's typically kind of in, and he's very much shoehorned into something that we haven't seen him really take place in or be involved in before. So absolutely awesome. I'm so happy that it's being collected in a hardcover. I honestly feel that at some point this is going to get an absolute just because of the art alone, but I'm sure it will, especially because I'm probably going to buy this. But definitely check it out. Let me know what you guys think. I think this was a sleeper release coming out in singles and trade paperback, so I'm very interested to hear a lot of people's thoughts, and you can definitely expect a review once this does come out just because it's that beautiful of a book. But that does wrap up number 2, so we'll wrap up with number 1. And coming in at number 1, I'm sure all of you saw this coming, Avengers by Jonathan Hickman, Volume 2, the reprint. Absolutely awesome to finally be able to collect all of this in my library. I know a lot of us already have Volumes 1 and 2, but I am super pumped. This does have a cover price of $125, standard Marvel Omnibus price. Page count of 1,088 pages and a release date of May 9th. This does wrap up the story that really Jonathan Hickman was laying the blueprint for throughout his tenure at Marvel. This does thrust us into Secret Wars. This wraps up the entire incursion kind of event. It's in all intents and purposes, best way to describe it is the climax of this era of Marvel. It is the Avengers Endgame of this era of Marvel. Jonathan Hickman just leaving a cherry on top of the story that he's been telling us through his entire time at Marvel. Of course, it follows immediately after Volume 2, or Volume 1 of Jonathan Hickman, that was also recently reprinted. So those of you that got your hands on that, you can jump from that book straight into this book, and then obviously wrapping up with Secret Wars. But such an amazing run on Avengers. So pumped that it's getting a reprint, and they're fairly close. We didn't have to wait ages for the reprint of Volume 2 after reprint Volume 1. So super awesome, super excited. I am beyond happy, like through the moon, that I'll be able to finish this run and actually get that kind of era of Avengers finished. And it probably speaks for itself. I don't need to sell anybody on this book. It's Jonathan Hickman's Avengers. Everyone knows it. Everyone loves it. It's well known for a reason. Check it out if you haven't. I think Volume 1 is pretty much already out of print, so that might be a little bit difficult, but absolutely awesome. Definitely check it out. But that does wrap up my list. And that does wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Comment down below what you guys are most anticipated for. I'm sure there's a decent amount of you guys out there that are very excited for that Hickman Avengers Volume 2, as well as that Spider-Man 2099. It feels like that Spider-Man 2099 Omnibus was probably delayed a million times. At least it felt that way. But comment down below, let me know what you guys are excited for and what I'm sleeping on. Obviously, I haven't read everything. I don't know about everything, so if I am sleeping on any books or titles, releases, whatever it may be, feel free to let me know down below to check those titles out. Also, if you're not a part of the Illuminati, hit that subscribe button to join the community. It is such an amazing place that all of us are building together, and we would love to have you. Also, if you could do me a favor, this channel is currently trying to hit its next goal at 1K subscribers, so if you could hit that thumbs up icon or leave a comment down below, that will very much help us reach that goal. And also, if you enjoyed today's video, do yourself a favor, hit that bell icon, that way you can get notified anytime I put out any type of content. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, as always. Quick reminder, point of you guys watching this, or at the time of you guys watching this, I am going to be out of town, so I will do my best to keep up with you guys, commenting, social media, everything like that, but my free time will be very much limited, so I will be doing my best. Just bear with me, but thank you so much, and of course, stay nerdy.